this third lecture in our series on climate change. Our guest today is Dr. Shahid Mansoor, who is recognized by Higher Education Commission as a distinguished national professor. He earned his B.Sc in 1986 and his Ph.D. from the University of East Anglia, working during his Ph.D. studies in the John Innes Center, Department of Virus Research. He progressed in his professional career, starting from research fellow to director and principal, National Institute of Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering, Faisalabad. He won many awards, among which a United Kingdom Fellowship from Royal Society, United Kingdom, Award of Sitara E-Imtiaz, Higher Education Commission Outstanding Performance Award, and Research Productivity Award for PCST for the last 10 years. As virologist, he conducted research on the etiology and epidemiology of Gemini viruses at the molecular level. Dr. Shahid Mansoor will talk about climate change and sustainable agriculture. Dr. Shahid Mansoor, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I must thank Islamic Academy of Sciences and also Pakistan Academy of Sciences. And I must say that, this is an opportunity for me to discuss about climate change and sustainable agriculture, which we all are, affected. So what I've done is that I have divided my talk into, so I have prepared a synopsis. So I will talk about agriculture and food security, then food security, how food security is affected by climate change. Then we will discuss about the climate change, what are the challenges, and also some of the opportunities. And then we'll talk about the technologies to counter the impact of climate change. And also some thought about the need to decrease climate impact of agriculture, and then a roadmap for food security in OIC member states. With this synopsis, I'll start my lecture. So as we know that world population is increasing and there are more people killed by hunger as compared to big three diseases like AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. And then elimination of hunger remained one of the major challenges even in the 21st century. And then zero hunger is the top agenda of sustainable development goal by United Nations. Now, if we look at the sources, then, the challenge that we have is that, the world population is going to increase to about 9 or 10 billion people. So we need to have food, and also, there's a growing demand, not on only to produce food, but also there's pressure on land, pressure on water. So we have to produce 70% more food from the same resources. And also there's a growing demand for meat, because when people have money, they would like to have more meat in their food. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing. And then one of the compounding factor for food security is the climate change. And if we look at the world's most severe risk on global scale, then climate is one of the top because there are many issues like climate action failure, extreme weather, biodiversity loss, human environmental damage, and natural resource crisis. So all these factors point us that we have to work hard by looking at the technologies so that we can deliver food and food security in our nations. So before we go into the technologies, then let me tell you that what is climate change. These include increasing temperature, weather variability. Sometimes you have floods, sometimes you have droughts, shifting agroecosystem boundaries. So some of the part of the world will have less water as compared to others. And then there are invasive crops and pests. There are new pests which are introduced in different parts of the world, and more frequent extreme weather events. So you either have no rain, or you have a lot of rain, which result in and the impact of this climate change is that, this is reducing crop yields, nutritional quality of major cereals, and lowering livestock productivity. But climate change is not only a challenge, but also an opportunity, because we have now technologies which are available not only to harness the energy, but also to have long-term sustainability. So this is just a brief introduction that when there are different factors like biotic factors, which include diseases, pests, weeds, and then the climate change. Then also a very important issue is the soil fertility. We sometimes, which is some soil fertility is something which is very important. Which means that we not only we need to care of our soil, but also make sure that enough organic matter is available, which is very deficient in part of the world, and Pakistan is one of those countries. Then the water is another issue which we are facing as we go. I've taken some of the example from Pakistan. For example, in Pakistan, the climate change and competition with food crop has resulted in the decrease in the production of cotton in Pakistan. And this is a 22% decrease. So we were growing about 14 million bales of cotton. Now it is decreased to around 8 or 9 million bales. This year, the government intend to produce 11 million bales of cotton, but this is major shift in cropping pattern because of the climate change and then competition with the food crop. So there are two ways of managing this crisis. One is management. So we can have big water reservoirs, like we can have dams or rain harvesting technologies, like when we have flooding. So instead of wasting water, if we can save this, that can also help in the agriculture. And also another very important point is to have a change in the cropping pattern. The cropping pattern, because of the change in climate, we need to work out about the sowing plan of this crop, and also the livestock shift from traditional breed to maybe more improved breed, and then tree plantation. But there's another very important area, which is what we call as genetic gain. This genetic gain is based on the technology. This gain is based on knowledge economy, and it costs less, but it will require a strong knowledge base. And I will give you very quickly some of the example where genetic gain has been obtained through improved genetics. And this is the area that we work. So historically, major increase in wheat, corn, milk, meat, and eggs have come from genetic gain. So for example, I will just quickly go through some of the example. Hybrid maize. This is one of the success story that, we have a major increase in maize around the world, including Pakistan, because of the introduction of hybrid maize technology. Similarly, a lot of progress has been made in egg because of the availability of breeds that were able to produce more egg per year. There's also a success story in milk production, where use of genomics has allowed us to have a major increase in milk productivity. And this is one of the important area is that genetic gain is by using genomic selection. So I'll talk a little bit more about genomic selection, what it means, and how we can use it in our developing countries. Similarly, meat production was possible in Pakistan because of the introduction of broiler chicken. This is imported breed. And because of the controlled shed environment, this can be produced at large scale. So now we will talk a little bit more about the technologies which are available to enhance genetic gain. So one of those technologies are that we have seen, for example, in early 60s till 70s, we had green revolution, which was brought by dwarfing genes and then high yielding varieties, which were responsive to fertilizers. But that genetic gain has leveled off. So it was a great revolution because the production of wheat was doubled in 5 years in around the world, including Pakistan and our neighboring countries. Now what we need is another revolution, which we call as gene revolution. It may involve tissue culture, genetic engineering, or because of the availability of market selection, or genomics. I will use a little bit detail about how genomics can help us to enhance our crop production. And then latest is the genome editing, where we are not introducing any foreign gene, but also only editing making some minor changes. And because of this, we have the potential to enhance genetic gain in our crops and livestock. Now, one of the example of genetic engineering is the development of BT cotton varieties in Pakistan, which were developed by NIBGE and many other institutes. So NIBGE has released so far 11 varieties of cotton, which mostly have the insect-resistant gene, which we call as BT gene. Now, this BT gene is not enough because now there are other major issues. So we need more genes, for example, for virus resistance, for insect control, herbicide tolerance, drought tolerance, and fiber improvement. So recently, what we have done is that we have introduced cotton with the double gene and also a combination of Cry1AC and Cry2AB. These are for insect control, and sometimes we have combined them with the EPSPS gene for herbicide tolerance. So the idea is that we have combined this gene together so that we can have the impact directly, because it will be easier for breeders to take these genes from one cultivar or one variety to another variety by just having the breeding methods. So this material for insect resistance, herbicide tolerance is already in the field. It is with the breeder and with the available for commercial exploitation. One of the another example of this using genetic engineering, where we introduce foreign gene into plant, is our effort to produce edible oil in Pakistan. So, edible oil is a commodity, but one of the issue is that, for example, if you want to grow canola, it competes with wheat in Pakistan. So obviously we cannot sacrifice wheat production. So obviously we have to look for the other opportunities. So what we realize is that, there is around 9 million hectares of marginal land which is available, and is a wasteland. And if we can develop crop varieties that can grow with less water under saline condition or harsh condition, it will be possible to engineer plant which are resistant to drought and salt. So what we have done is we have developed canola which can grow on marginal lands. For this, what we have done is that we have taken the lesson from genomics. Because of the availability of genome sequence of Thalangella Phyla, which is a close relative of Arabidopsis, we identified 3 genes which were conferring drought and salt tolerance in this plant. These genes are located in such a way that these are complementary. So these are NHS1 gene, ABP1 gene, and LEA1 gene. And these have got, complementary activities. So we thought that if we can generate transgenic plant with multiple genes, they can bear in a better way drought and salt. So what we have done is that we have cloned all 3 genes under different promoter like 35S promoter or FMB promoter or RD29 promoter. And then we linked all these 3 genes together in one cassette so that they can be transformed into plant as one single cassette. We have generated these plants and then evaluated at for shoot length, seedling biomass, and there's a very significant difference in the growth of plant when we grow with 200 millimolar sodium chloride. And so this is a good example where we can use genetic engineering for engineering plant with multiple genes. So cotton, oilseed crop like canola and soybean, they are all accepted as genetically modified food crops around the world. But we have a problem that there are different views about the GM crop. For example, we require regulatory frame work, trade issues. There are great potential to contribute to food security. For example, we have golden rice, which is producing high levels of vitamin A. We have wheat with high level of iron, but I mean, it is difficult to commercialize this because of the trade issues, because of the public acceptance and the perception from Europe and North America. So, I mean, there are few exceptions like among OIC member countries, Bangladesh has been very proactive. They have commercialized golden rice, but in most of the part of the world, it is difficult to commercialize GM food crop. So some of the crop like cotton, oilseed crop, sugar, and low lignin trees are accepted. I mean, so because trees are not directly affecting food cycle. So what we thought is that we need a way out. For example, by educating our policy makers or masses, or we can switch to other technologies like genomic assisted breeding and new breeding technologies. So as a scientist, we understand that genetic engineering has a lot of potential to contribute to food security, but because of these issues, we have to find out alternative technologies. So, but there are some very interesting development. For example, in genomics, this is now possible to sequence human genome in a few $100s because of the availability of technology. And these are based on the promise that the cost of sequencing has gone down tremendously in few years. And this has resulted in major opportunity to sequence livestock and crops. And there are now thousands of genome sequences which are publicly available. So virtually, there are several thousand genomes of rice available. Wheat genome has been sequenced and all other major crops. So it is a very important avenue for application because it does not require any genetic manipulation. So all you have to do is to have the sequence of your crop species or livestock species, and then perform genomic selection in crops and livestock. So I mean, it is a conventional breeding program which is assisted by genomic. So I'll give you an example. But before we will go into this, beside plants, and animals, we also have a huge amount of microbial genome. Ourselves have more DNA of microbe in our body as compared to our DNA from our own cells, human cells. Similarly, livestock, they have, this microbial genome. So I think that, there's a huge possibility to manipulate those microbiome and use them for good purposes. So I'll give you a few examples. So this is one of the success stories that we have because of the genomic selection. So remember that in genomic selection, you are not introducing any foreign gene. What you do is that you have a gene available in nature, you transfer from one plant to another, and then you follow through markers. So this is a super basmati, which is we have developed through genomic selection, where a gene for bacterial blight resistance has been transferred from non-basmati rice into super basmati rice. So it is now, it's double super. So it has got all the characteristics, and by having genomic markers, we were able to recover the genome of basmati because of the, we know that basmati has got more value in international and national markets. Now, what are the new breeding technologies which are available for food security or to make the challenges, meet the challenges of food security and climate change? So these new technologies allow you to do very precise editing in plant, and there are several technologies like zinc fingers, talons, but the most important discovery is the CRISPR technology, which has allowed you to make changes without disturbing the whole genome, without adding any gene. And this is now accepted as one of the very important technology in many parts of the world. And there's a lot of potential to use the technology for increasing yield and quality. So for example, at NIBGE in Pakistan, we are working on the application of genome editing technology or CRISPR technology in rice for better yield, better grain quality, nutrition value, herbicide tolerance, potato for disease resistance against viruses, sweetening control, stress tolerance, wheat for yield, disease resistance, nutrition value, cotton for disease resistance, better quality, nutritional value, and oilseed crop like canola and soybean for high yield, better quality, and nutrition value. So what is genome editing? I think that there's a lot of awareness, so I won't go into the detail. So it allows you to do precise mutagenesis as compared to random mutagenesis. So we have been using chemicals, we have been using radiation to do some modification in the genome, and we have been breeding these varieties. But now, because of the availability of this tool, we know the genes which are involved in disease resistance. We know the genes which are involved in yield potential. So what we can do is that we can edit them. Either we can inactivate them or overexpress those genes without disturbing the genome. So for example, we can have some minor changes which are just like mutations, but these are very precise. So it allows you to do a very precise editing in different crop count. So there are different now platforms which are available. I won't go into the details of this. So what they do is that you have the option of either cutting the DNA and then rejoining the DNA, because by using the CRISPR-Cas9 system, where you have a guide RNA and then you have the targets which determine that the guide RNA will determine where we want to edit. So it's a very precise tool. And then but there are other possibilities where you don't cut the DNA, that you actually change the nucleotide. So you can change A into T or G into C. And these are now very interesting and important tools which are available in different labs around the world. So I'll give you a few examples of use of genome editing to enhance crop yield. For example, in case of rice, so there are 3 components which contribute to yield, like number of panicles, number of grains per panicle, and grain weight. So what we have done is that we have identified 4 genes which are negatively regulating the expression of these genes, these traits. So by editing these 4 genes, we are developing rice which is high yielding as compared to the previously available rice. Similarly, in case of wheat, we are targeting 4 genes, similar way that the genes which are negative regulators of yield. Beside editing these genes, and another very important is that we are multiplexing this editing. So which means that all these genes are edited at the same time. There are also possibility to use genome editing for disease control. And one of the example is that we have used genome editing for creating resistance against a very important virus we call as potato virus Y. And this is based on the editing of a elongation factor in rice, which we call as ELF. So by inactivating this factor, we were able to develop plant which are resistant to potato virus Y. Similarly, we have developed resistance against bacterial blight in rice by targeting one of the sweet gene, which is important for the pathogen to enter or to cause infection in rice. So what we have done is that we have targeted this gene, inactivated, and then use this plant to show that these plants are resistant to bacterial blight. Another very important aspect is that if you want to enhance genetic gain, you need to speed up the process of varietal development. So at the moment, varietal development program or crop improvement takes about 6 to 10 years, depending on the crop. So one technique which is mastered by Lee Hickey from Australia is that we can speed up the process. So this is a fast-forward technology for genetic gain for food and nutrition security. And this is based on some of the experiments that were done by NASA. And the technology is based on some use of special lights with special wavelength that allow you to take or get seed in about 2 months. So that means that you can have 4 to 7 cycle per year. And this technology is really good because what it requires is a specialized glass house where you have control over temperature, and then you can have 4 to 7 generations. Obviously, it helps to reduce the time which is required for developing new crop varieties. Another very important and very interesting fact is that we say, okay, climate change is a big threat, but the issue is that the crop plants that we are using, they have evolved in an environment where these issues were not there. So now there's a So I'll explain a little bit before we go into the detail. So agriculture itself is a major problem of climate change. It generates 19 to 29% of total greenhouse gases. So we are using different chemicals. We are using different pesticide, and then so there's a agriculture itself has a strong environmental footprint. So carbon dioxide is a major greenhouse gas. But we know that plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So, if we can improve the photosynthesis efficiency, that will not only result in enhanced food security, but it will also mitigate the climate impact how it can do this, if we have the efficient system so that it can, plant can fix carbon dioxide, it will result in carbon sequestration. So there are different, so photosynthesis is done in 2 cycles, which we call as light cycle and dark cycle. And in the key enzyme for this activity is the rubisco. So if we can increase the, stability of rubisco, there's a great possibility that we can enhance the productivity of our crops. So we can have different options. We can enhance water respiration, decrease the damage to rubisco, or by engineering synthetic carbon dioxide fixing pathway, or introducing carbon concentrating mechanism, or improving the catalytic activity of rubisco, or replacing rubisco with efficient rubiscos in plants. And this can generate up to 60% photosynthesis can be increased by optimizing rubisco alone. So this is one of the activities that we are involved in. And one of the activity that, we will publish this in 2020 in Trends in Plant Sciences, where we shown that, if we can replace rubisco with the better rubisco mutant, then it can enhance the photosynthetic ability. So the carbon dioxide, which is a problem at the moment, can also become an important so I think that, this is one of the very interesting area for developing plants which are more efficient in photosynthesis. So I will. Now, there's another very important component of food security or agriculture, which is livestock. So I'll spend some time on livestock. So livestock and the poultry is a very important component of our food security. So livestock in Pakistan, livestock constitute around 60% of total agriculture. And there's a huge potential for growth because of the halal market. And it also has the potential to control nutrition deficiency and stunting. And one of the way of enhancing the availability of, say, iron, zinc, protein, good quality protein, is by consuming, products that come from livestock like poultry. And also by using genomic selection, we can enhance the productivity of milk. So there are different possible solutions. One is that, we can import high milk producing foreign breed like what we call as Holstein Friesian, but those are not adapted to our harsh environment. There are possibility that, we can have a crossbred animal, but the most important is that, we can have genetic improvement in yield of local breed of cows and buffalo. So this is something that, we are working on by improving the yield of our local breeds of cattle and buffalo. So what is genomics? So genomic, it allows you to have, if you have a genome sequences discovery, you can discover genomic marker, for example, marker which are associated with higher yield, markers which are associated with disease resistance, and then you can use this for using genomic selection platform. This requires data analysis and then GWAS, and then you can use this technology to improve the accuracy of evaluating a genomic estimated breeding value of bulls and heifers. We can, if you have this genetic information, you can also use it to develop breed-specific markers, and then genomic selection for superior bulls and customized SMP chip. This is why, because the available chips are designed for foreign breed like Holstein Friesian. So the program that we have is to enhance the SNP chip for our local breed or breed which are grown in the tropical environment. So, there are different chips available, commercially available, which were developed, because of the data which was available for foreign breed. And this has resulted on a very positive impact on US dairy industry. So to start with this program, the first thing what we have done is that we have sequenced the whole genome of all indigenous breeds of cattle. So these are different breeds, 11 different cattle breeds which are found in Pakistan. Now we have increased the number, so at least 5 genomes of each breed are available. And then now we are part of the 1,000 Bull Genome Initiative, which is based in Australia, because of the availability of this. This resource is very important because of not only for the genetic information, but also to develop breed-specific marker to identify breed based on this markers. So I won't go into the details. So that every breed has got some specific marker which are useful for identification and conservation of these breeds, which are adapted to different environmental conditions. Like some of them are adapted to very high, harsh temperature, and then some are found in the very cold region in the north. Another very important component of livestock is buffalo. So more than around 60% of milk in Pakistan is produced by this buffalo. And if we have this program where we have done whole genome sequencing with the help of our Chinese friends, all breeds, all 5 breeds of buffalo from Pakistan. And now this data is available for genomic selection. So we are working with the breeder association so that the high producing animals with good breeding data, they are used for genomic selection, so that we have higher availability of genomics selection. Another technology which we can use to enhance genetic gain is by using sex semen. This technology is based on using cell sorter, where we can have sex of our choice. Like, for example, if you are working on dairy breed, you would like to have female. And if you are working on beef industry or meat industry, you may prefer to have male as offspring. Now, this is another interesting development, which we call as SLIC gene. This gene is basically a mutation in one of the gene. It's called prolactin receptor gene in the last exon of this gene. And if you have this mutation, the animals are adapted to what we call as tropical conditions, so they can withstand high temperatures. So this mutation is known. So what we are done is that we have, so one of our students is now working at Roslin Institute to make this mutation by working by using the genome editing. So if this phenotype is only available in few animals, so we can create this phenotype through genome editing. And remember that I've already discussed about the genome editing possibility. So the way forward for our countries, especially those which are member of OIC, is that we have to adopt climate smart agriculture and also work on technology platforms so that we can have better handle on genetic gain, and technology platform for livestock improvement, so that we can have less environmental footprint of our agriculture. And then we can also do microbiome engineering. This is a very interesting area. If you understand microbiome, if you know the microbe which are found in the root rhizosphere, you can produce biofertilizers. And if you know the microbe in our own body or our livestock, we can use probiotic, which will allow you to have better productivity without use of, say, antibiotics. Another very important area that we sometimes ignore is enhancing the soil health. And soil health is related to availability of nutrient and organic matter. And to do all this thing, to achieve this all goal, we need international linkages to OIC platform. We are very happy to tell you that we already have developed some of the platform which were discussed at Comstek in Islamabad. So this is about what we call as climate smart agriculture. So we have less damage to our environment. And these are the technology platforms that we have proposed in 2019 meeting at Comstek in Islamabad. And recently we had another meeting in 2021 December in Turkey, where we are proposing that we can use 3 platforms. One is centralized speed breeding facility for decreasing the time required for breeding the varieties. So it's independent of whether you are using DNA markers or not. What you are trying to do is to reduce the time to develop a variety from 9 or 10 years to about 2 to 3 years. And then what the second platform that we are proposing is the innovative breeding practice for fast-track development of crop and livestock by establishing genomic selection platform. And so this platform should be available at national level and international level. And then the third platform is the genome editing platform, where we are able to genetically do genome editing, and then we work with all the stakeholders, like provincial government, federal government, all the stakeholders, to realize this genetic gain. With these words, I must thank you, and also I must thank all of my colleagues who have been working very hard on developing some of these technologies for developing these technologies. And I look forward to working with the OIC member state to take this technology platform and share this expertise with our colleagues in different parts of the world. So in this regard, we already have developed a platform, and also we are involving CIMMYT. The first platform that we are proposing is to improve wheat yield and quality, and then fertilizer use efficient wheat by involving John Innes Center, CIMMYT, and Pakistan, and then these lines will be available for all member states. With these words, thank you again, and I'm ready to take questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shahid, for this very interesting and comprehensive lecture, talking about very important issues regarding increasing the plant and livestock production. And one of the most important things that you point to is how to increase the photosynthesis capability of plants. And this has a bearing really on biodiversity, especially if we adapt this technique for forests. I mean, like in the Amazon area, where we can really capture a lot of CO2 from the atmosphere, reducing the climate change, and as such, enhancing the possibility of vibrant biodiversity. I really very much impressed with the work you have done in the Institute. Now we open the platform for any comments or any questions from the audience, please. Anybody? Dr. Adnan Badran, please. Dr. Adnan.
Dr. Adnan, you can
Dr. Adnan.
ask your question.
I think he has some problems. Okay, in the meantime, we can have Dr. Asghar to ask his question. Dr. Asghar, please.
Hello. Good morning to everybody, and especially to Shahid Mansoor for a very interesting talk. I have a few small questions. First question is about the variability of fresh water in Pakistan. Its storing and its utilization in an optimal way. What's the situation of fresh water in Pakistan?
Okay, I think that, this is very relevant to agriculture. So we are now building some two major, water reservoirs, Diamir and Bhasha, dams. And obviously, building dams require a lot of money and also, time. So those are the key critical issues. So I'm glad that, the government of Pakistan has started those projects, and in due course of time, they will be completed.
So what's the situation at the moment? Do you have enough fresh water in the country, or you have to do something else?
I think that the availability per person has decreased, tremendously. So it's only, so what was available, say 50, 60 years ago has reduced to about 25% of what was available. So it's around, I don't exactly remember the figure, but, this is important that, we work on the conservation of water as well as, availability. So water is, at the moment, is okay. I was just reading the report from Ministry of Food Security in Pakistan that enough water is available for coming seasons.
And the second question I would like to ask is about the situation of water logging in the country.
Water logging has gone down very much because of the use of, we had this internationally funded projects, and then also by use of tube wells, the situation of water logging is under control. It's actually the water table is going down in Punjab very much. Is a now concern. So because of the decrease in water table, so which means that you have to dig. If you want to have a well, you have to dig more deeper wells. So it is an issue. So water logging is now a less of an issue.
And another question is about the fertility of the soil. Are you maintaining the fertility of the soil, or is it going down?
No, it's very bad. It's very bad. This is something that we are emphasizing. This is one of the things that I, because of the shortage of time, I was not able to cover. Is that we are proposing two things. One is to introduce legumes like soybean on large scale, and also all legumes, so that we have increased soil fertility, increase in organic matter. So organic matter is something which is directly linked to the crop productivity. Organic matter is low in Punjab, in Sindh. So I think that this is a very important area to work on, and there's less awareness about this. So there's an issue of burning of crop residue, which should not be, because they should be used to enhance organic matter. So it needs a lot of convincing, because you don't see the soil health, and it's something that we are emphasizing. Thank you very much for asking this question.
Another question is, Pakistan is an agricultural country. What about the situation of the food sufficiency in the country?
Oh, so food sufficiency, I think, is not bad at the moment, but food quality is an issue. Our around 40% of our population are suffering from stunting or malnutrition, not because of the calories, but because of the availability of nutrient like zinc, iron, protein, vitamins. So those are the things that it is now. So what we have done over the year is that we have made this as point of our agenda, that not only we have to feed mouth, but also make it nutritious. And that's why we are proposing to enhance milk production, meat production. Poultry industry has done very well in Pakistan. It's now second largest industry, but obviously, the quality of meat is an issue because we are using antibiotics. So we have developed now technologies based on the probiotics, where we have totally replaced antibiotics with probiotics. So this is something that very important, that food security not only mean that we feed the stomach, but it should be provide you essential nutrients so that you can achieve your growth potential.
What do you see for the food sufficiency in the next 10 years?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Food sufficiency in the next 10 years.
I think it very much linked with the enhancing. So we have this now national framework to use knowledge economy, knowledge to enhance genetic gain, both in livestock and in crops. So if we adopt these technologies I hope that we will have sufficiency. But the problem is at the moment is that the spending on agricultural research is very minimum. So we have to struggle all the time to tell federal government and provincial government that you need to invest more into research, and that's the way that it is going to help us, because we don't have much area, we don't have much water available now to the only possibility is that we can increase the crops in Balochistan because the land is available there. Other than that, obviously the best way is to increase the genetic gain. This is what I emphasize, that you need to develop or enhance your knowledge base to have genetic gain. And this has been done previously. We have seen Green Revolution, which was based on just improved varieties.
Next, last question is about because of the climate changes, the desertification is increasing in the world. What's the situation about that desertification in Pakistan?
No, I think that it is other way around. What I see is a lot of activity. I've been to one of the desert in Cholistan recently. So people are bringing technologies like drip irrigation and others. And I think that at the moment, what I hope is that other way around, that a lot of land which is available in Balochistan will be under cultivation if we have the right type of varieties and rainwater harvesting technologies.
But in Balochistan, you don't have enough water.
Okay, but they have, what they call hill torrents. If we have small dams, we can, store that water. And I mean, there is a very recent success story of growing cotton in those areas. A very good quality cotton can be grown in Balochistan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar. I think Dr. Adnan Badran wants to ask a question. If he couldn't connect to the audio, please, Dr. Adnan, Your Excellency can write the question and we will ask it for you. In the meanwhile, Dr. Wanja had posted a question. If you look, Dr. Shahid, on your screen and find out, because she was asking whether you develop whitefly resistant cotton or not.
Okay, that's a very good question. So if you, I can share one of the recent publications that we have from our lab, where we have identified a source of natural resistance against whitefly. And this is based on one of the cotton line that we got from USDA. It's called Max 7. And the paper is already published. And what we have shown is that, this line has low infestation level of whitefly. So it's basically tolerant to whitefly. And we have introduced that resistance in our cotton cultivar. So these lines are now commercially available. One of the line developed by NIBGE is called NIBGE 11, has got this gene for virus resistance and whitefly resistance. So yes, but not by genetic engineering, but by having a germplasm which is naturally resistant to whitefly.
Yeah, any more questions?
Can I ask a small question? Dr. Shahid Mansoor, where are you at the moment? You are in Islamabad or somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm located in Faisalabad, but I'm talking
Faisalabad.
Yes, I'm. So National Institute for Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering is located in Faisalabad. So I can share my email address and we can talk.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Lama, please.
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. I would like, actually, it's a note. I would like to thank Dr. Shahid for this very interesting talk. We used to listen about climate change and what is going to affect the agriculture, but this lecture is what you are doing, or the implementation of issues to cope and meet such changes. And really we have to think about that I really am impressed by the things that they were done in Pakistan, and we should think that we have to work to meet the changes of these climate change. Not only just to take awareness is okay, but they are really doing implementation. And thank you, Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Shahid, for such a talk.
I think that, sorry, thank you very much for appreciation, but I think that, the real challenge is that, to develop linkages. So we are trying to develop these linkages and not only with the OIC member state, but also anywhere, where the technology is available. For example, we have got now a germplasm and lines from CIMMYT, which are very efficient in use of fertilizer. So we hope that, we can cut down fertilizer by 50% in case of wheat, and also enhance our nutritional value. And also, I think that, we also need to create awareness in our OIC member state about genome editing, that, genome editing is not the same as genetic engineering because there's no foreign gene involved. So thank you very much, madam.
Any more questions?
Can I ask a small question? In Pakistan, the population is about more than 200 billion people. Anything being done to control the population of the country, because that is directly related to food sufficiency?
I think this is not my area, but the answer is the efforts are not to the level that it could be. So it's not like, Bangladesh or Indonesia, where but what I hope is that, we will reach equilibrium maybe in a generation time, but at the moment is population growth rate is still high. But the family sizes definitely has reduced, earlier, previous generation, we used to have, say, 5, 6 children, but, most of the families that I know now, they have 2 or maximum 3. So kids, so I think that, it's going down, but but it's more awareness is required in this area.
Any more questions? If there is no more questions, I have a comment and probably a question to ask Dr. Shahid. You're talking about 2 technologies, molecular technologies, the CRISPR-associated Cas22 and introducing foreign or genetically modified organism technique by introducing foreign gene using promoter from viruses like cauliflower mosaic virus promoter. Now, which one you think is more suitable for the environment and for the ecosphere in general?
Okay, it's a very difficult question. It's like, that you are asking a person that, if you have two kids, which one you like more? I think that, they both have their uses. For example, in case of cotton, I think that, having genetically engineered cotton is a good idea. We have now experience of around 20 years of growing these crops without causing any damage. But I think the genome editing has got a different dimension. It has brought some of the avenues that were not covered by genetic engineering, like, for example, enhancing yield, enhancing the quality, enhancing nutritional value. So these were not the agenda when we were only using foreign gene for editing. So, I mean, most of the trait that we were able to develop through genetic engineering were insect resistance, herbicide tolerance. And then you start to, okay, what else which has created impact? But, genome editing is a very broad, it's a very broad application. I think that, genome editing is the future.
Yeah. Can I understand from your talk that you are in favor of gene editing techniques rather than the introduction of foreign genes?
Yeah, I think because that, this is
there is a lot of debate. There is a lot of debate about introducing foreign genes because they might escape to the environment. And this is from environmental perspective. The other thing from the health perspective, that the promoter, the cauliflower promoter that's being used to introduce foreign genes could somehow associated with cancer genes or something that exists in the humans. So that's why there is some states or countries that prohibit using genetically modified organism, or at least they require that the product should be labeled as genetically modified product.
Yeah, I think that, there are concerns, but as a scientist, there are a lot of studies and over the years, independent studies that shows that, there are no, so these are mostly the concern, but, the actual scientific data is not there to support these apprehensions. I mean, whenever you have technology, you always have questions. For example, even, developed world has problem, for example, vaccines. In recent epidemic of COVID-19, some people, even in the developed world, refuse to take vaccine. But generally it is accepted that, vaccine was able to protect us from the disease. So I think that, the general public concern are not really something which have got, some scientific evidence that these are, but as I said that, because of the, there are limitations because of the, which are imposed by genetic engineering. So for example, we are not, because of the now availability of genome editing tools, we have now possibility to work on not only disease resistance, but also yield. I know the genes which are involved in the yield because of the tremendous progress which has been made in understanding of the genome. So I think that, there's a whole lot of potential, and probably the number of products that are coming from genome editing will be much higher than what we have through genetic engineering. And very good sign is that, several countries like, Japan, USA, Canada, Australia, India, Pakistan, they have already declared that, if you are not introducing any foreign gene into your plant, you are just using to create mutation to CRISPR, then it's not considered as genetically modified, because you have been using radiation, you have been using chemical for more than 100 years to create variability. So it's a very precise way, So instead of using a very kind of a, bombarding the whole genome, you are doing very, calculated mutations in the genome. I think that we have one question from Dr. Nazir. So if you can unmute yourself and then you can ask question.
Dr. Nazir, I haven't seen that he raised a hand.
Okay, sorry, I thought that, probably he raised the hand. Okay.
No, he did not. I wonder whether Dr. Adnan Badran is still on board. I think he has some problem in connection, I guess, because he would like to. I thought he raised hand, but apparently he couldn't connect. Any further questions, Dr. Azhar?
I have a very small inquiry. I've heard that they are trying to introduce the olive trees in Pakistan. Where, if this is true, what's the best place in Pakistan to introduce these olive trees for olive oil?
I think it is becoming a success story in Pothohar region. So when you go, above Kalar Kahar area, if you are traveling by, so that's the area, Pothohar region in several districts. And another area which I have not visited myself is the Khuzdar and Balochistan area. They found very interesting result that, they could grow olive there, and the university in Khuzdar is promoting that. There are also reports from KP, but I think that the most area which is now under olive cultivation is in the Pothohar region, is from the Chakwal and adjoining districts. So they are growing successfully, and they are now producing, and I hope that this will be I think now it is a success story.
I see that Dr. Adnan Badran on board. Please, Dr. Adnan Badran, if you have some difficulty to connect to the audio, would you write down the question? Audio, something wrong. And Sajid Shah also has some problems. May I ask question, Dr. Shahid?
Yes,
is
sure.
Faisalabad far away from Islamabad? I was in Islamabad last week.
It's not very far. It takes about 4 hours from Islamabad to reach Faisalabad. It's around
4 hours. Is that up?
three hours, around 350 kilometers, I'll say, not exactly, but it's not very far.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come in the morning and go back in the evening.
I was in Islamabad last week.
Oh, okay. You could have visited us.
I was not having enough time to do that. Anyway, we will be meeting in Karachi by the end of this year, hopefully. It is the conference of the IAS. So we'll be able to see you and probably visit your place.
Sure. This will be a pleasure.
Any more questions?
Yes, can I ask one question again? Because I'm obsessed with the fresh water in Pakistan. Pakistan has to share this water with India under the Indus Treaty. And I have heard that it's not working very well. What's the situation at the moment?
Sir, I'm not a water expert, but I think that probably I'm not the best person to answer this question. Maybe I can ask the relevant experts and come back to you.
All right.
Dr. Adnan, Your Excellency, yes. Dr. Adnan Badran, please, if you have any comment or questions, and if you can write down your question, if you couldn't connect to the audio.
So he is muted.
He is muted, but I don't know why he tried. I saw him. He tried very hard to connect to the audio, but he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, I think that he can probably write the question, or maybe, you know, you can share my email address with all the audience, and then.
Oh, I see that Dr. Noorbat is joining us. Dr. Noorbat, how are you? Oh, he's not there. Anyway, any more questions? If not, I would really would like to sign off. And I thank all of you for joining this very interesting seminar. And we hope that we will meet again in the next section, which falls under the same umbrella, climate change.
Dr. Abdullah, congratulations for the new position at the Higher Council.